Well, back to today's conversation, which, of course, is around the very same issues of socioeconomic challenges that the country faces. Today marks exactly 63 years since the Pan Africanist Congress of Azania was founded. A breakaway from the ANC, this Pan Africanist movement was launched in 1959 at Orlando Community Hall in Soweto. It is also on this day in 1652 that Jan van Riebeeck landed at the Cape of Good Hope in what is believed to be the beginning of colonialism for many and the brutal dispossession of South African land. Here to talk to us about these two significant events, I'm joined by the PAC Secretary General, Pooe. We'll also be joined by EFF Member of Parliament, Matiase. And you're a part of the conversation as well tonight. 072-110-5584. Tweet us at Newzroom405. Gentlemen, good evening and thank you very much for your time joining us tonight on In Focus. Pooe, let me start with you. Is the revival of the Pan Africanist Congress full steam ahead, or has the steam run out?
No, we are working very hard. We are working around the clock to make sure that we build this organization of Soweto.
Yeah.
And that was confirmed by our performance in the last election, wherein we doubled the number of councillors that we had from the previous ones that we had. We are currently working on the clock towards a national congress that is going to be held in December, and the organization is united as ever. Today, we celebrate the 63rd anniversary of the formation of this ship of true liberation, and we are quite excited about that. Today we dedicated the day to reflect on where we are coming from, where are we going, are we achieving the objectives for which the PAC was formed.
Right.
And our reflection reflected very positively, and we are quite excited as an organization that we are moving steam ahead.
Some have argued that the party will fail to make significant inroads if there is no political dynamic prevailing on the ground that requires a PAC to address. Do you think there is a new dynamic that has opened an avenue for you that you could possibly exploit?
It's not necessarily a new dynamic. The dispossession of the land of the Africans started, as you correctly pointed out, at the beginning when Jan van Riebeeck arrived at our shores in 1652. And that has not changed up to today. The land is still in the hands of the few that used to be in charge of the apartheid. Africans remain dispossessed. We still need to repossess the land. So that is the center for our struggle, because our struggle was premised on one thing, which is the return of the land to its rightful owners, which are the African people. So the PAC will remain as relevant as ever.
Yeah.
We know that the 1994 was a sellout settlement, and that has been evidenced by the fact that till today, after 27 years, our people still do not have land. In recent times, we have also learned from those who are doing research that the gap between the rich and the poor is widening. And we know as a matter of fact that the people who are becoming rich are the people who benefited from apartheid, and that happens to be the so-called whites. So the PAC will remain relevant in such an environment. We recently saw the so-called Dubula movement, which is aimed at African foreigners. And as Pan-Africanists, we abhor such acts, and that's why the PAC will remain as relevant as ever.
Yeah.
Our education system is in tatters. The PAC stands for quality education for our people. The healthcare system is not what is supposed to be in terms of catering for the poor of the poorest.
Yeah.
So we continue to be relevant as ever as the PAC.
Is your objective to win a sizable number of supporters, or maybe just a number of seats in parliament. I'll tell you why. For example, I was watching a little bit earlier on the leader of the Economic Freedom Fighters, Julius Malema, addressing those who were marching today. He says, if they ask you, why did you join the EFF? If you have got any other answer, just say the land. So it means that there is a party that is occupying that same messaging that you are saying you also are pushing. So what political strategy will set you apart so that you'll be able to attract millions of voters to your side?
Currently, as matters stand, the PAC cannot be compared to no other political party that is existing in the country. We are not adherents of the Freedom Charter, which advances that the land belongs to all who live in it. Ours is that the land belongs to Africans, and that sets us apart from any other political party. But we are quite happy and excited that the message of the PAC resonates with other political parties. As you correctly mentioned, out that the EFF has now come up very strong on the land question, and we really appreciate that, and we are willing to work with whoever that advances that position. I'm not sure when you are referring to us being apart from others, you are saying that we are the same with others, of which that I cannot say is true. We are completely different. When this organization was founded, it was very clear on the ideology, that our ideology is a Pan Africanist socialist ideology. And that also sets us apart from others. So the PAC remains as unique as it was formed in 1959.
All right. Just in that, we'll come back and we'll get Sam to respond to that. And the thought of a collective mind when it comes to addressing the question of land and whether that would be helpful, or a fragmented mind with different players all agitating for the same idea, whether would that be a more effective strategy. As we mentioned today, 63 years ago, the Pan Africanist Congress of Azania was founded. Also today, in 1652, Jan van Riebeeck landed on the Cape of Good Hope in what is believed to have been the beginning of colonialism and the brutal dispossession of South Africans of their land. So we're talking that land question. And Sam, let me bring you in here on the very same question. Uppermost in mind for you, would a collective mind around the question of land be more useful in this fight to agitate for land to return, or would a collective idea but separate minds and approaches to this thing be a more effective thing?
Well, thanks for the opportunity, and greetings to the viewers at home and also to the leader of the Pan Africanist Congress of Azania, Comrade Pooe. Look, we are a Marxist-Leninist Fanonian organization. We adhere to the principles that underpins the struggle for the total emancipation of the oppressed masses, in particular the working class. So we are open to collaboration with left forces in the country, in the continent, and everywhere else internationally. We are not hostile to the Pan Africanist Congress of Azania. In fact, we are inspired by the 1960 program of land occupation of the PAC. We are inspired by the work done by various Pan-Africanists here at home and in the continent. Among them is Robert Mangaliso Sobukwe and Steve Biko. So all what the PAC stands for and what the EFF stands for, it's in the interest of the masses of our people. Yeah. And we foresee in the future that both two organizations will find ways to join forces in ensuring that the process of returning land to the African masses will remain landless after 27 years.
Yeah.
of the dawn of democracy is realized.
Yeah.
Whatever the PAC is doing on the other side, if it helps us to resolve this important national question of landlessness amongst the people, is most welcome. We'll also be doing our bit in ensuring that this struggle is not betrayed. Of course, yes, we are not starting a struggle from the scratch. We are not the ones to claim that we are presenting something completely new. We walk in the footsteps of heroes and heroines, of stalwarts, of selfless men and women who led the struggle for the return of the land.
Yeah.
So we are the descendants, we are the children, sons and daughters of those who came before us to fight for the return of the land, primarily and uppermost in the minds of those who conceived the idea of having organized liberation movements to fight for liberation and for freedom. Yeah. Uppermost in their mind was the land question.
All right. Do you think, for example, this is why I'm asking the question, we would have been in a much stronger position, those who were agitating for for example, the amendment of the Section 25, right, on expropriation. That would have been a much stronger force had there been commonality and a collective mind in how that particular amendment was approached.
Well, in any struggle, there will always be, and especially in the revolution, there will always bystanders and there will always those who would want to appease the existing establishment, in particular, the ruling class. And the former liberation movements, such as the ANC, is located rightly as amongst those who want to appease the dominant ruling class in this country. And these are the people who are holding us back from the realization of the return of the land. And until such time that parties such as the Economic Freedom Fighters and the PAC work together to conscientize the masses of our people that, look, the common enemy, the common evil here is white monopoly, is those who continue to exploit the resources of this country, the land, for their own selfish benefit. And we need to work together to ensure that our people understand this message, embraces the message. And it is only through that and our hand getting strengthened through popular power and through popular support from amongst the masses of our people that questions such as expropriation of land without compensation will be realized. The amendment of Section 25 to make it possible for the land to be expropriated will be realized. And our people must understand that we, as sons and daughters who march in this journey, are more committed than before to realize that this demand is realized. We are inspired that the Pan Africanist Congress of Azania hasn't abandoned that struggle,
right,
and will be more than willing to join forces with them going forward.
Dr. Pooe, considering the current political realities, is there a conversation and talk around the refinement and the realignment of some of the PAC policies and political strategies?
Yes, as I indicated earlier on, later this year in August, we are going to a national congress where we'll look into all our policies and look into which areas we can refine and new strategies that we can develop. You will also know that in recent times we have also had an agreement, a cooperation agreement with AZAPO. That was an effort towards uniting the Africans, making sure that they come together so that whatever strategies and programs, including policies, we work together towards that. And I'm quite happy with what my fellow comrade has just indicated, that there's willingness, as much as there's also willingness from the PAC to work with EFF towards attaining the objective of making sure that the land is repossessed and returned to the African people. We are also inspired by also the message of the EFF leader on the 21st March, wherein he indicated he would want us together to commemorate this day. It has been our wish that on this day, as long as we agree that it should be commemorated and it should remain Capital Day, not only that day, but many other commemorative days that are associated with the liberation struggle of this country. So there's really a movement towards making sure that we achieve the objective for which the struggle was for, which was the return of the land which was stolen from African people. And we are currently working hard, building the branches of the PAC, the regions of the PAC, and the provinces of the PAC towards that Congress, which would ultimately refine this. And we are hoping that we will emerge out of it much more stronger. Yeah. And as and when we engage with everyone else towards the attainment of that. Because currently our country is in crisis, and without parties that are on the left working together, will continue to be in the crisis that we're currently having in this country.
Speaking of the crisis, a quick one. I mean, as we speak now, the people in Deep Slaughter are up in arms saying they want the foreign nationals to be kicked out and go back to where they come from, come back into the country legally, and so on and so forth. You are, as the PAC, are continental in scope, socialist, as you've already mentioned, in ideology. What's your view of the struggles that we are currently faced with in the country, and people characterizing those struggles as a result of illegal migration?
You see, the challenge with what is happening currently is that because the so-called illegal foreigners, many of whom are Africans, live among our communities, and because there are scarce economic opportunities, and there's this widening gap between the rich and the poor, they become easy targets. People see them as the immediate threats to their livelihood. But having living elsewhere outside our community, that wouldn't be the case. We know that we've got Chinese immigrants that are selling, having big shops, and people go to those shops. We don't see people closing those shops. We know that we've got many other people coming from elsewhere in Europe and foreign countries, but they don't experience the same thing. So what is happening, much as it's understandable from the economic side of things, because our people currently are struggling with the policies that has been advanced by the ruling elites of this country. But we, as the PAC, cannot condone such. As I said previously in the very same program, we still believe that the borders that we're having in Africa are colonial borders. We're not even made by the same Africans who are fighting over the same borders. South Africa, as it is, belongs only to South Africans. They were never part of those who determined the borders of South Africa. Same with those who are living in Zimbabwe, Nigeria, and elsewhere. So we are fighting over something or not of our own making. But that is as a result of the economic situation that our people find themselves in, that has been created by the same neocolonialism policies, including the apartheid. So for us, as an organization, we don't support, in fact, we abhor this Afrophobia, because that's how we prefer to term it, rather than saying that the people are taking the foreigners. Not all foreigners are being attacked. The majority of foreigners that are being attacked are those of African origin. Of course, we are against drugs. Of course, we are against crime. But we cannot, in our clear conscience, claim that the crime that we are experiencing in this country is only as a result of Africans who are coming from elsewhere in the continent.
Let's